The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
You know what? I just feel good this week, and I don't know if it's the fact that Mamma Mia Pizzeria or if it's just the fact that we're here this week, and it's another week here with Elbows Out. I can't tell you the real reasons, but I can tell you that the reasons are probably because we're here with Elbows Out, because it's a great night here in Imola at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. You got J.D. Daniel, Paul Nye Sr., and Christopher Ondera coming off of wins in round 3, bringing it here to round 4, where we're going to see things run through. This is going to be an exciting thing to watch. Cautions are back, safety cars are back, and I tell you what, I bet that the drama is going to be here more than ever. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, into Elbows Out Racing. It is going to be round number something of the week of the
4.
season. Yeah, there we go. 4. That's what we needed. Yeah, if you play golf, you're probably really good at yelling that. I'm not good at golf, so I don't do great at yelling that. But it is round number 4 here, and it is the Attack of the Sausage Curb multi-class hour. I was real happy when I saw this logo, and our race sponsor flat out put the logo out, sent it to me, and said if you can't figure out the race title or why I named it what it is, you probably shouldn't be broadcasting. And I gotta say, good points to be found. But this is going to be a fun one here. It is, as always, myself, Brad, here on the booth, joined with Patrick. Not Paul Nye Sr., who is on track, but Patrick Coleman, as always. Patrick, good evening, my friend. How are you?
I am also doing fantastic here. We are here at a very historic venue, a venue that has been around for quite some time. Its earliest iteration opening in 1953, and honestly, aside from a few corner changes, this track has remained relatively the same since its initial opening. Some extra safety measures were added, but it is a narrow track, it's a tricky track, but we're here at Elbows Out Racing, so it should be a lot of fun nevertheless.
Yeah, we talk about this being a narrow and tricky track. Again, Imola, as we will refer to it for the entirety of this broadcast, although it is known as the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, a Ferrari test track, a track that has a rich history that even if you're not a Formula One fan, you're probably familiar with. You saw the beautiful photos throughout the scenic cameras. You saw a lot of the things in the background, and it really does speak to the history of this track. 3 miles, 17 turns. We're running the Grand Prix layout, and I was looking because I said, I didn't know there were multiple layouts to Imola. There is a layout for MotoGP, and the only difference is they put a very hard 180-degree chicane into the run into the front stretch at the start-finish line. Weather on the day, it's 9 a.m. at the track, 86% humidity, and it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, we couldn't ask for better weather here if we tried.
It's a good bit of reprieve for the drivers too, considering next week when we head to Portimao, it is guaranteed rain. We're not going to get our hopes up like we did for Mugello a couple weeks back, but it is going to be full-on rain next time out in Portimao, so the drivers will probably enjoy a little bit of the drive while they still can, because they're going to have none of it next week. But in terms of today's race, I mean, it's already going to be tricky enough. We have over 50 cars on track here today across all 3 categories, and overtaking is going to be tricky both in class and also just getting past the lap traffic because this track is very narrow. We were talking earlier with Dwight Hibbs, and we were all under the same assumption that turn 14 and 15 will be the source of a lot of track limit violations, and we might see a handful of black flag penalties here today.
That we will. And then full course yellows, as I briefly said, are back. So automatic full course yellows will be here. We did that a couple of weeks ago. Admin all went back to the drawing board and kind of said, you know what? We're going to look at this one again and figure out how to do this one. So here is where they've come back with it. It is picked up by iRacing whenever there is enough cars that wreck in a certain period of a lap, and then it's thrown out. You get behind the safety car, and then there's a procedure for shuffling the classes through, but it is not enabled right at the race start. So the race start is just all hands on. It is what it is we're going to get the grid up here and let that grid roll through and see where your favorite driver is as we kind of look through here. I got to ask the big question here for you, Patrick. It's Dylan Ackley and Luke Patrick on the front row here with Aiden Garcia and Emily Milky behind. What LMP2 is going to win this race today?
That's a tough one, honestly, because, I mean, obviously we cannot discount Cody Perodotto because we've seen him from the back twice, and he would catch up to at least the top 2. So we know Perodotto is definitely wow, that's words. He's definitely still within contention for getting a win here, but we do know that Dylan Ackley, I mean, back at the season finale last season, he did win his opening race, so we know Dylan does have that pace. I think just to kind of throw a bit of caution to win, I think Dylan's going to win this from pole.
I'm going to go ahead and say that that'll be an interesting one to see if that is how that happens, so we'll just keep that in the back of our mind. As far as the GT3 pros go, I do think Paul Nye, the donut guy, is looking good. I think Tyler Stinick is in a pretty good position. I think the return of the Matt could be there. I think John Javicki could also have a good run. This is going to be an interesting one to really watch here as they go through. And you will notice, 1, Bob Carey had some info there through qualifying. 2, you'll notice different drivers have images throughout the broadcast. So drivers were able to submit their own info, their own little fun facts about themselves, and then they were also able to submit their own photos as they went along. So drivers that submitted photos, their photos are in the broadcast. If you're a driver and you didn't submit a photo, what are you doing? Submit the photo already. And I may or may not have added some drivers' fun facts and ages and cities in myself. You have no way to know who I did and who I didn't, and as far as you know, everyone's information is directly from them, and we're going to leave it at that as we scroll through here and watch how this goes. A total of 55 cars will be taking on the green flag here at Imola as we get pacing underway. Race details here if it's your first time here. 60 minutes, 3 classes racing through the entire time. A pit stop and 4 tires is required. Cautions are enabled, and if you pit under the full course yellow, it does count as your required pit stop. That is big, Patrick, because if I'm a driver, I'm going to be keeping that in the back of my mind.
Indeed, yeah, and I mean, especially on a track that is as tight and narrow as Imola is, I mean, there's probably going to be at least 1 caution, and you can bet without a shadow of a doubt that if somebody has caused a caution, then the pits are going to be flooded with drivers. I think if there's a a caution flag thrown at any point in this race, I think everybody's just going to take their stop then and there, just so they can get it out of the way. Some drivers might try to brave it, although we saw the last time we had cautions where trying to brave it through a safety car didn't exactly pay off, as it didn't pay off in Mugello for a few of the LMP2s.
This is going to be an exciting one to watch. Pace car is going to pull off. GT3s are behind by about 5 seconds. LMP2s are ready to go with Dylan Ackley, Luke Patrick, the front of the field. They're going to be waiting until they get the green flag. We're waiting. We're waiting a little bit longer. Where's it going to go? And there is our race start, we're going to be underway. I think.
Not yet.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
It was delayed a little bit. There we go. It's the second flag stand. Even though the timing line is the first flag stand. Green flag, we are underway here for racing. And it is going to be Dylan Ackley holding on in the front. Hard battles behind. Luke Patrick, Aiden Garcia, big LMP2 come together here on turn 1 going through. And the GT3s are all going to try to work their way through as well. We've got carnage going on here at Imola in the race start. Multiple cars around.
Even more.
Smooth chaos rolling into the field. That's going to be multiple cars taken out at once. Multiple cars.
Multiple cars taken out. It's a massive pile up here. It looks like I-95 at 5 p.m. with all those cars are all bunched up. That is awful to see, but not entirely unexpected as we have Murphy now into the pits. Andre Wedderburn now in P7 in class, I believe. So yep, that is correct. P40 overall, but man. And I think some of that GT3 carnage was kind of spawned in because of some of the LMP2 carnage just up the road ahead. I mean, Luke Patrick definitely got spun around there. And that probably caused a few of those GT3 cars to check up, causing a bit of the pileup we saw earlier on.
Luke Patrick all the way back in the midst of the GT3 field, trying to get around the GT3 pros here in the front who are holding on, trying to work their way through. And Luke Patrick just trying to get back to the back of the LMP2 category. As they go through side by side goes Bob Carey with Austin Diltz. Bob Carey up the inside. A great pass coming in for Bob Carey to get through in the final corners as we continue along with a great battle. Back in the back, Jean McLuhan just holding on in the midst as well. This is a track where the GT3s and LMP2s don't seem to have a lot of pace difference. On that race start, Ethan Murphy, Nathan Hemperly, Matthew Marin, and Matthew Markley, 2 Matthews, both being taken out in. Doug Greer was in it. Benjamin Bechtel was in it. It looks like we also had several other drivers involved in that lap 1 incident. We'll go back here in a couple of minutes and get a replay here as John Javicki now has Luke Patrick behind up front. 3 seconds the lead. Dylan Ackley to Emily Milkey.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dylan Ackley really benefited because the car that's happened right behind him and the car that started pretty much right next to him of Luke Patrick. So Dylan Ackley is in a pretty good spot to just kind of take advantage of the carnage that happened behind him. And also, earlier on in that first lap, Emily Milkey had a bit of a snap too, which probably caused a few cars behind Emily to really start checking up. So in that case, I mean, it's a really good opportunity for Dylan to really just kind of assert his pace here and get another win on the board in this first win of the season. But another thing I want to note is that spin there for Dwight Hibbs in the Subaru-themed LMP2. Oh, that's a rough one for the number 4 there. Not a great time here. I mean, we know Imola's a tricky track. And another spin! Spins all over the place.
All right, well, this race has managed to really heat things up. Colin Bourdon going around there, and I believe that was Eric Mack with him. Brandon Burns possibly in the mix as well. I'm not sure where Brandon Burns was to begin with, but behind this, Bourdon, Eric Mack battling it out. Let's see Eric Mack up the inside, and that 184 of Colin Bourdon trying to go around the outside and hold on here. Julius Machewski is going to try to bring his way through here. He slots back in with Matt Toppa behind. All right, drivers, I'm not going to have time to really think about anything today, am I? That's fine. We'll work with it. Cody Peridotto right now in P5 and LMP2 doing Cody Peridotto things.
I was just going to mention it before things really started getting kicked off there through Sector 3, right around the Grisini chicane. But, yeah, I mean, Peridotto is just, once again, doing Peridotto things. And I said earlier on that Cody Peridotto has been known for climbing through the field. And I figured he would climb through the field today in that Gengar-themed LMP2 machine. But I wasn't expecting him to be up in the top 5 this fast. But considering all the carnage that happened just ahead of him, I'm not too surprised, to be honest.
I'm not either. Let's watch this battle right here. Fozzie Fazzillo, Aiden Garcia, Cody Peridotto as they come down through. Variante Alta is the corner name for turn 14 and 15, working their way through, doing a great job coming down here down the hill towards Revazza, as it is known here around this beautiful circuit. Back in the back, I don't want to lose out on what's happening here in GT3 because Kylan Bruce has really did a whopping on the wall here, trying to come back out on track and has so much damage. He's going to spin again. What's going to happen? He stopped in a very bad spot here in Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, he opted to back up a bit in that number 54 Aston Martin, which is probably the best thing, because Imola, it is an air track, but there's a good amount of opportunity for a runoff. And if you get an incident like Kyle and Bruce did here, I mean, it is pretty easy to just kind of back up into a runoff area and just let the other cars through before jumping back in, so you don't endanger any of the other drivers here in this race. We do have a very nice three-way battle here between Perodato, Garcia, and Fazillo, all battling it out for position for the final step on that podium. We're only about 5.5 minutes into this race, and we have seen so much unfold here already.
This has been an absolutely amazing race start. I am really enjoying Imola. I'm not going to lie. I was a little concerned coming in about how this was going to look with so many cars on such a small track. But look at this. We've already got LMP2s lapping GT3s around. I do want to jump back here to Jean McLuhan, Javicki, and Nodwell, because we've got a 3-car battle for the lead in GT3 Pro. And then I don't want to forget about GT3 Am. Dayton McGuire currently 7 seconds up in that 007 on Kyle O'Grady in P2. So the GT3 AMs have kind of found their footing, spread out a little bit. On Dara currently the tightest battle on track in P7 with, I mean, a hankering of cars behind, you got to say. Rich, Greer, Clayball, Yor, and Keyser all behind as they are going to battle it out here. I mean, so on Dara really under pressure in that Mustang. The Mustang not a great car for this track, honestly, which, no surprise, it's a very tricky technical track with lots of tight corners that you have to nail. It's not got a lot of chance for the Mustang to stretch its legs like you would want. And Jean McLuhan here with a big spin in through Ravazza. That's going to cost him several positions. He's now out of the battle for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, Ravazza is it's a fast corner, but it can also end your race just as fast. So you got to be really careful through Ravazza. It looks like a corner that you could carry a bunch of speed into, and in some cases you can, but you'd make one wrong move and then you're going to pretty much end up straight into the gravel. So it's arguably one of the harder corners on the track. I mean, the only corners I would say would be harder is turns 14 and 15, that really very tight narrow chicane where we've seen a few cars already have incidents earlier on. But yeah, Ravazza is also a pretty easy corner to mess things up at. A driver who hasn't really put a foot wrong in this race, I must say, has got to be Dylan Ackley, because he is doing fantastic work. He's built up about a 5.5 second gap to Emily Milky in second.
Yeah, Dylan Ackley, soul of racing here. He says racing is his soul now. All of these fun facts were put in by the drivers, is what I'm telling you. If you see something you don't think it was put in by a driver, I don't know what to tell you. It's probably put in by the driver. Anyways, says racing is in his soul, and right now, I mean, that soul is singing as he goes through 6 seconds to the good to Emily Milky here, who is just now coming through in towards Tom Borello as it goes. Emily Milky, 48 years old, with Milky Racing going through and around. Let's see here with Aiden Garcia in P3 following through. I mean, you can see the front three have really spread out. Cody Perodato already up into P4 here, fighting through with a teammate ahead. What will they do? Well, it's team orders here, but not McLaren-style team orders. That's great team orders coming in from them. Swap positions and send it on along for another day. The 7-time league champion looking to make number 8 this season. And, well, when you got a teammate like that that's willing to get out of the way and actually help and not try to run you off track, that does help quite a bit. I'm not salty about Sunday at all.
I was gonna say, it sounds like somebody wasn't happy about papaya action in a certain Asian country, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it is nice, and it does help your championship chances when you do have a teammate that's just willing to be like, okay, well, have at it, not my fight, not my pig, not my farm, and he just lets him on through, because we know Cody Perodato is rapid. I mean, you could probably put that man in a shopping cart and he'll still make up 5 positions off of the first 3 laps against any kind of car. So we know he was nicknamed the Alien for a reason, and the hyperspace technology is gotta be feeling the LMP2 because he is flying right now. As we do have a battle here in the GT3s, it is Colin Bourdon now trying to go ahead and put some good old pressure in. We know he is very strong. Actually, that is the wrong teammate. That is Peter Nodwell and John Javicki battling out for the lead in GT3 Pro. The number 73 against the number 706. Who's going to win here? It'll be interesting. Like you said, this is not really a Mustang track. We know the Mustang likes going fast in a straight line, and there is a good amount of straight line, but for the most part, it is a technical track that really favors the Porsche just behind.
It really does. I am really enjoying seeing how this goes here as these drivers continue along. Now, I do want to take a minute here of our time, and we are going to step back and look at that lap 1 incident really quick. So if we can take just a second here, there's been a lot of incidents, but I want to see that lap 1 from overhead. So let's go back and take a look here and dial up a quick PTR TV replay of what happened in lap 1. So we are going to look at this from the blimp, and I'll tell you right now, it started all the way forward here on the run. So let's go ahead and get this replay dialed in, and we're going to watch this from the blimp. Now I'm going to get back here to the GT3s because that's really where things got interesting. So watch the GT3s. They weren't ready to go, and it was a midfield checkup that really set things off. But then up front, we're going to watch here with Ackley. This is Ackley, Patrick, Emily Milky with a hard charge through. I have a feeling the stewards are going to be looking at that one here in just a little bit because that's Luke Patrick off. And then you can see here everyone trying to shuffle through. In the background, GT3s having their own incident. And I mean, this just sort of all compounded into that one GT3 rolling through, and then everybody just having to take avoiding action. I mean, this is one of the most chaotic starts I think I've seen in Elbows Out in a while, as we just try to get an idea of where everyone is. That is the number 1 Mustang I see that was around. It looks like Doug Greer maybe dropping back a bit. Matthew Santerciero taking some big damage from that. Kyle Rodriguez, and then Ethan Murphy in there as well. So, I mean, that is some of the big moments. And then up front, I mean, we just ran away with it if you're Dylan Ackley, and that is the amazing part to see here as we go, is the fact that Dylan Ackley was able to just disappear. And as we come back to live pictures, well, Dylan Ackley is now up to Christopher Ondera, who is running in P12 in class right now and is getting ready to lap him. Yeah,
so, I mean, we talked about it early on, and we've said it a few times now, but, I mean, Imola is a super narrow track, and if you have one incident early on, then you can expect kind of a pile-up to happen, or at least a bunch of drivers will have to take avoiding action through the numerous patches of grass and gravel that are scattered throughout the first sector. It's unfortunate, especially with a rolling start. You have all those cars pretty much packed in together, but once again, if one person makes a mistake, it just kind of causes a domino effect throughout that entire straight. So, I mean, if nobody spun, I think we would have made it okay, but once one person spins, it's pretty much just going to spiral from there. As Cody Perodato, or sorry, that is not Perodato, that is the 155 of JD Daniel, our race winner from last time out, trying to put pressure on the Fozzie Vizil up ahead. And now we are back to this battle between John Javicki and Peter Nodwell going ahead and battling it out still. Now, John does have a pretty solid lead. It is a 1.3 second gap as we continue to spectate all the drivers now that they've kind of settled down in a sense, and they're pretty much in the groove now.
Yeah, Mac into the pits here, it looks like, actually. So several drivers, 15 minutes in, have taken their pit here as the Pro Mac says, I have returned. The Mac has returned. I don't know what that means, but that's just where it's at. It's interesting to see the GT3s hitting in so early here. I was not expecting that. But, I mean, we've had Tyler Stenick has been in, Kylan Bruce, Seth Vosselman. They've all been in on regular pit stops right now. Again, not what I expected here this early. Andre Wedderburn is now in. which I think is interesting to see as he has decided to go through. He's got more company with him behind of Benjamin Bechtel. So this is one of those interesting moments where I think the GT3s are showing that, hey, maybe pitting early and running very long is the best decision, which is not what I thought they would do.
I mean, they would get some pretty good track position, and this is looking pretty dicey here, as we're seeing some really strong battling here between Emily Milky and Cody Perodato. Cody Perodato in that number 51, trying to go ahead and put pressure to try to jump up into P2 so he can start just chomping at the bit, trying to closing that gap to Dylan Ackley up front. But Perodato is just so quick. But not only does he have to get past Emily, he's got to get past that absolute conga line of GT3 cars that are just up the road. Emily Milky will be the first one to go ahead and give it a go, trying to get past these GT3s, with Cody Perodato following suit. They'll get past a few of them, but there's still quite a few more just up ahead. And just by them, Austin Diltz is going to go ahead and try to give it a go to try to get past a lot of these cars here. As we see, the lights are flashing. Emily Milky is going to go and try to at least put a traffic car in between Emily and Cody. And it looks like that attempt has been successful from the number 876. But Cody Perodato didn't stay trapped on the McLaren for long, and now Cody is back on the charge.
Behind Cody Perodato, look who that is showing up for the party. Austin Diltz making a name for himself here, trying to take some challenge to Mr. 7-time and say, hey, just because you're 7-time doesn't mean you're going to win this time. Let's see what happens here as Austin Diltz was right within a couple tenths of a second within that slipstream run before they hit the first chicane through. Continuing along here, we head into the second Variante, the Variante Villeneuve, as they go through and around, heading up towards Toza we go. This is where the fighting is going to get very interesting coming through. Emily Milky here leading ahead. P2, 8.5 seconds off of Dylan Ackley. Would you say Emily's the cork in the bottle, or would you say that Emily is right where Emily needs to be as Emily defends along, coming in through Paratella down towards Aqua Minerale? We're going to run. Is Perodato brave enough to make a move into Aqua Minerale? The answer is no. Go slow in, send it hard up the inside, and try to make that move. Emily runs very wide there. That's got to be a slowdown. Let's see here, and that is a slowdown, and Perodato will work his way through there. Unfortunately, Austin Diltz does not.
To answer your question earlier, if Emily was the cork in the bottle or not, I think that depends on who you are, because if you're Perodato, the answer is yes, 100% that Emily was that cork in the bottle that needed to be released for Perodato to be released, and so he can try to chase down Dylan. If you're Dylan, then Emily was exactly where Emily needed to be. As we continue on here, now Austin Diltz gonna try to push towards getting a move done, or actually no, on the defense from Emily. Now, a bit further back, it is Fozzie Fazzillo and JD Daniel. JD Daniel, the winner from last week, our second race winner in the LMP2 category this season. Now trying to put pressure onto Fozzie Fazzillo, putting some really good pressure, but not really making any obscure dives yet. He will get a very good slipstream. But once again, Imola is such a tight technical track. There's not really a lot of opportunities to get these moves done here, especially when you have GT3 traffic just up ahead.
Yeah, continuing to carve through and around. And speaking of GT3 traffic, the GT3 traffic is managing to be traffic for itself here. Paul Nye Sr. currently in the run here with Tyler Cook, Callan Tobin, Joel Bandera. Look at that in the background with Callan Tobin going through and around, trying to get past Tyler Cook, trying to come through. That 151 trying to make a challenge as well. The 151 is actually Andre Wedderburn, who is a lap down to the field here, and you can see Callan Tobin working his way through. He wants to get up here with Tyler Cook. He wants to have a challenge for the last of the podium places here with Paul Nye Sr. in E3, really trying to keep this steady. 2.5 seconds, the gap between Paul Nye and Peter Nodwell, continuing to challenge along here, continuing to push, try to find the way forward. Again in GT3 AM, Daniel Pinero, the first car of the entire field, a lap down, running several seconds behind Dayton McGuire, who got an absolute killer start in that Miller High Life number 007 of Porsche. And then behind is Travis Bell there. And then Zach Nerney just behind that, trying to go for a move, missing a lot of front end there, was involved in that early lap 1 incident and is just sort of nursing the car. The back half of the GT3 field, I unfortunately think all of them are carrying some sort of damage, and it's really just nursing the car. And right now, it's going to be just sort of tiptoeing your way around, because Dylan Ackley, here he comes, the race leader, trying to work his way around.
It might be a bit better for Dylan Ackley because he'll have a better chance to try to get a move done here, potentially, but Aqua Minerale is not the place to get stuck behind traffic because you really cannot pass unless somebody goes very wide, like we saw earlier with Emily and Cody. But, I mean, looking at this, I mean, he's going to lose a good amount of time to Peridotto. The gap was about 9 seconds before that series of corners, and now it is down to under 8.5, so it's getting closer and closer to being 8 flat, so he lost several tenths of a second just behind traffic. I mean, nothing much more he can really do because, once again, I mean, he's going through Ravaza now, so he'll be on that start-finish straight, so he'll get a really good chance to try to clear a lot of this GT3 traffic just before he hits the first couple of corners, before he gets into Tamarello. But, yeah, he just lost a good amount of time there. The gap is now under 8 seconds. Now it's going to go back up, probably because Cody Peridotto is back running into that traffic, as we have JD Daniel once again on the back of Fozzie Fazzillo. Is there going to be a move being shaken for here? But, I mean, JD Daniel was shaking for a move, but will Fozzie Fazzillo be stirred? Not this time, he won't.
Ooh.
He'll keep that position through some close hard battling here. Definitely putting the elbows out and elbows out racing here tonight.
I mean, talk about some hard fights here tonight. I do not envy Race Control tonight because they are going to have a fun time, which actually I think I'm on the Race Control team tonight, so never mind. I'm going to have a long night. Morgan Smith, Maxwell Woodman C battling it out here, going around through Variante Tamburello, having a great run here. John Javicki, again, I want to touch base on 2 seconds to the good to Peter Nodwell here as we continue to watch these battles. Callan Tobin now putting Tyler Cook in to the cooking pot. We'll see if there's some pressure that can build here to try to steam some potatoes. I don't know. I was trying to say something there. I really am craving pot roast right now as it gets cold outside. Paul Nye Sr. diving into the pits here in P7 and is going to take an early pit stop here. The teammate just pit a minute ago. We've still got some battles forming here. Brian Metterly, Travis Bell battling things out. Both of them have some significant front end damage on their Mustangs. Let's see what they do here as they go. In GT3 AM, they have all spread out by several seconds now that the leader has come through. They're starting to close some gaps around. We'll keep our eyes on those as they go through. Tyler Stenick currently on the back of Julius Machewski. Now this is a battle to keep your eyes on. It might be P14 in class, but these two have had some very close, hard-fought battles, and look at this. They're not done right now. Fair Enough Racing, he would like to fair enough make his way forward here. The number one trying to hold on to the number one and not in a good position to do so as it stands here in the points in the championship. Let's see what Stenick can do here to try to get past Machewski. Right now, it's not a lot as they go down into Ravazza for 36 minutes left to go.
Yeah, once again, I mean, the thing about Ravazza is that you pretty much just need to get a good exit on these corners, because if you get a good exit, then you have a really good shot of getting a good slipstream, going ahead and closing that gap bit by bit. And we know the Mustang's fast in a straight line, so this is really probably the best part of the track for the Mustang. He is really close now to the back of the McLaren. We may see a move being made here just before Tamburello, but once again, not quite. A bit too much real estate to make a move stick. And Tyler Stenick is in an unusual position because normally he's not this far back in any kind of GT3 field, let alone the GT3 Pro field. And apparently he's also in a competition with Zachary Nerney to see who loves cats more, according to our fun fact of the driver.
Listen, he's got 7 cats. I'm just saying that's 7 times more love to give out, Zach. It's on you now, Nerney. I don't know what to tell you. As we go through, let's see how this battle is shaping up. Checking back in up front, Brian Metterly, the other Fair Enough Racing Mustang, putting on some great pressure there to Travis Bell. Let's see what they can do as they go through. And of course, one teammate filled it out, the other teammate did not. That is perfectly fine. I'll get them to fill it out before the next broadcast as we go through. Morgan Smith, I do want to check in with, because right now Morgan Smith is putting some pressure on as Fozzie Fazzillo, the teammate, has managed to really get some breathing room up here in the front. But Bob Carey trying to catch a Jet 2 Holiday or Jet Blue Holiday, I don't remember what it is anymore. That joke has sailed like my chances at remembering that joke. I don't have any funny things to say right now, but Bob Carey right now, Morgan Smith right on the back here, the number 58, trying to get past Bob Carey, who I believe is the oldest driver on the grid, if I'm not mistaken. Bob Carey, 65 years old, retired airline pilot, so maybe the oldest. I think there's someone slightly older, but I'm not for sure. We'll check as we go through. Bob Carey with great defense, you have to say, as we go along here. Morgan Smith still trying to find a way through, around, up, down. I don't know what you can do here as we head up towards Aqua Minerale and see, is there a pass to be found? Smith taking himself out on the rear bumper, and Morgan Smith is around, drops down the order, and unfortunately is going to fall back through some traffic. That is not going to have any problem there for JD Daniels. JD Daniels 25 plus seconds back, but Morgan Smith now losing considerable time to Bob Carey. We'll see how that closes up as further ahead, the teammate Fozzie Fazzillo right on the back of Aiden Garcia. Say adios to Aiden Garcia as Aiden Garcia into the pits.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment, too, about how Bob Carey went from piloting aircraft to piloting almost equally as fast LMP2 machine. But, I mean, that's the beauty of sim racing. You have drivers with a wide variety of ages competing here. We got some drivers that are on the younger spectrum, around probably the early to mid-20s. And then you have drivers like Bob Carey in their 60s still putting up really good competition against these youngsters on track. And it's just one of my favorite things about sim racing is that it doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, it's all about just having fun at the end of the day. And these drivers, despite the age gap, are having a really fun time out here, despite the fact that this is a really tough track, as we're seeing some really good battles here in the GT3 field. It is a battle of the Stangs once again. The number 46 car, Brian Medley, trying to go ahead and try to make some moves here on the Travis Bell, who is putting on a really solid defense in that 156. Now as they make their way, they do have Dayton McGuire just up ahead, the leader in GT3 AM. And, oh, they're getting really close there. And there's Emily Milkey just right behind them. And, I mean, Emily's going to have an easier time of it this time, considering it's a bit of a better part of the track to get these passes made. But we'll see if Emily can get it done before Rivazza. Not a chance. Emily's going to have to wait till the next go-around of things.
Emily going to floor it here down the main straightaway. Have a great run going past here. And I have seen a handful of black flags already being handed out, by the way, just looking through. Morgan Smith, the next victim of the black flags. That was something that I know we talked about at the top of the broadcast with the concerns on track limits, and it is something that we are seeing consistently right now. Luke Patrick, by the way, after that lap one kerfuffle, as I'm going to call it, has caught back up to the back of Emily Milkey by half a second here, is currently going down the inside of the 156 Mustang of Travis Bell, is now going to work around the GT3 AM leader of Dayton McGuire, inside to outside, coming through. Great move. That's another pro staying out of the way as we go along. And now here we go, because this is where things are going to get interesting. Gap 1 second right now between Luke Patrick, Emily Milkey as they go along, as we have interesting moment here on the leaderboard. Otavio Cunha is now being scored as the leader in GT3 AM. Not sure what happened there with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just a bit of... Oh, never mind. It got reset.
There we go.
Otavio's down in the P8 in GT3 Pro now, P34 overall. But like we were saying earlier, and that's actually pretty impressive there from Luke Patrick to get a 6-hour split winner, or 6-hour split win in Watkins Glen. I mean, Watkins Glen's a fun track. I know we've covered it before, and it's a lot of fun. 29 years old. And I mean, we know Luke Patrick's got the pace around this track, because we have to remember he qualified second in this race, but the only reason he's that far down to begin with is because of that lap 1 incident he was involved with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that recovery drive is going to look like here for Luke as we go along and continue to watch. Up front, Dylan Ackley, only 6 seconds in the lead right now as we watch here, as more drivers in and out of the pits here. Travis Bell is into the pits. That has allowed Tyler Cook to work by now, as Tyler Cook is now coming out of the pits here, trying to get up to speed, and is going to be continuing along here. Jean McLuhan in that 992 Porsche continuing to run and goes well up front. John Javicki 3.6 seconds ahead of this driver, Peter Nodwell, as they head down the hill towards Rivazza for the next time here going along. Continuing to just watch drivers battle their way through, and everyone just working their way along. About half of the field is pit, half of the field is not as we go through. As Luke Patrick is giving the business to Emily Milky here, that West Coast racer, giving some West Coast feistiness to try to get past Emily.
Yeah, Luke Patrick is definitely on the charge, trying to make up for what happened earlier on in the race where he was involved in that lap 1 incident. Trying to go ahead and try to get past Emily here, which will be a task much easier said than done here for the 29-year-old. We'll see if he can go ahead and get it done. Well, it doesn't matter, because Emily comes on into the pits, and now promote Luke Patrick up into 5th, a good few seconds away from Fonzie Vazillo, but I'm sure he'll be happy to at least claw back to that P5 position.
Well, here's the thing. Luke is still going to have to pit, so now it's undercut time. It's time to really floor it. Try to cover off here from Emily, and if you can pit and come out ahead of Emily, you're going to be doing great here. Somebody just caught my attention cutting through the grass hard there on the camera. Not a single clue who that was, though, but somebody decided to carve through the grass as they went along here. Plenty of great battles still continuing here. Jean McLuhan and Paul Nye Sr. Now, this is a battle shaping up. This is for P7 in class. Again, pit stops still pending, mixing things up here. So let's see what Paul Nye, the victory guy, the donut guy, the Aston Martin guy, can pull along here as he's going to go through. Jean McLuhan going very defensive here on the inside, is going to squeeze a little bit, sends it back out, and let's see going in through the Variante Villeneuve. That's going to be wide going through, and that is the 992 getting pushed a little bit wide, and that was that of Jean McLuhan's own doing. Did Paul Nye leave enough racing room? It was very hard to tell from that camera angle, but I'll tell you, that'll probably be reviewed later. Going along and along we go, but Paul Nye now up into P7, and it's going to be 6 seconds to get up to Tyler Cook in P6.
You're going to have a very long night, Brad. And there's another car around. That is Peter Nodwell getting spun around in the Porsche. I believe that is through Grassini. Yeah, I think that's through Grassini there. The 50-year-old driver getting spun around there in the number 73 Porsche. We've seen a lot of drivers spin it through that particular section of track. Actually, no, that was before. That was actually at the end of Aqua Minerale that he spun.
That's unfortunate to see, and yeah, a lot of drivers have spun in that area. I don't really know what it is causing it, but something about Aqua Minerale is catching drivers off guard. Now, granted, that is the most challenging corner on this circuit in my humble non-professional driver opinion here. These guys are a lot faster than me in so many different ways, and a lot better than me in so many different ways as we go through. And in the pits, we do have our GT3 AM leader, Dayton McGuire, who managed to pit in. Let's see here as he gets that Porsche up and moving. That Miller Lite Porsche is now rolling that GT3R as it goes the 007. Where will he come out? Well, he's looks like he's going to come out hopefully ahead of this cluster of cars that's coming through now. Can he get back up to speed? Can he get going? He's fourth. There goes the race leader overall. Dylan Ackley right behind him. He's got to get those tires up to temp. He's got to nurse those tires up to temp If he is not careful about it, that is going to produce a big problem. But behind him, he's got Matt Toppin who wants to get through. Now, Matt Toppin is not an in-class battle. Matt Toppin is a pro. Julius Machewski is a pro behind as they are battling it out, as Matt Toppin ran well off, and that is going to be a missing front bumper for the number 41 Corvette.
Yeah, that's not exactly great, and yep, that's a fast repair there for the Corvette. And Matt Toppin getting sent to the pits. Now here we go, side by side, two drivers battling for overall position. These two are not competing in class. Travis Bell, Dayton McGuire. Dayton McGuire, who's been in a commanding lead in the GT3 AM category here tonight in the 007 Miller Lite Porsche. He's been doing fantastic stuff. But now he's got a certain American boat right in front of him that he needs to get past, but he will let the LMP car through first, which will make things a lot easier. And yeah, so far he is doing pretty good. He's on those colder tires. So it takes about a lap to about a lap and a half to really get those tires warmed up to spec and get to that desirable grip level. But we're actually seeing a few of the other GT3 drivers pitting as well. Also, JD Daniel into the pits, Pinero into the pits, Medley into the pits. So now the only GT3 AM car that is ahead of Dayton McGuire is Kyle O'Grady, who is pretty much right in the middle of Tyler Cook and Paul Knight Sr.
Yeah, going through, and Kyle O'Grady holding a 30-second gap. That is not going to be enough to stay ahead of Dayton McGuire, because a pit stop around here cost about 49 to 50 seconds for the GT3s and about 60 seconds, it looks like, for LMP2s based on my initial data, which is interesting because usually I feel like the margins are a little bit closer. Maybe I'm wrong here, but anyways, as we go through here is Tyler Cook and Joel Bandera battling it out here by half a second, as they have the wonderful 799 with Aiden Garcia behind them for company. Further back from this, though, Eric Mack, Tyler Stenick battling it out by a rate of knots here as they go through. Again, that number one, Fair Enough Racing, well, he's probably fair with a lot of people because he really wants to work his way up this leaderboard if he can. He's worked his way up to P10 in class. He'd like to find a little bit more.
Indeed, and I was going to try to go and find another position off the back of the Big Mac, Eric Mack, trying to go ahead and get past the McLaren of Eric Mack, trying to go ahead and get through Tyler Stenick. He is the reigning champion for a reason. He's got pace. He's done it in the BMW and he's done it in the Mustang, so we know that this is a car that he is fond of. But this is a track that the Mustang itself isn't fond of, as you do have one of the LMP drivers going into the pits. Kyle O'Grady in the pits now too, and now we have a bit of a side-by-side battle here. It is Eric Mack and Tyler Stenick going side-by-side, trying to get it done into turn one, and there's some lap GT3 cars and an LMP car that they're going to pass. And into Tamburello, Tyler Stenick does have that move done and dusted. Now he's looking right at the back of the Aston Martin. He's going to try to clear him as well. I believe that is one of the lapped GT3 AM cars. It is, and somebody went spinning off there at the back. I want to say that was... who was that? I think that might have been Woodmansee? I think that's Woodmansee.
It was indeed Maxwell Woodmansee, who says, "I'm trying, mama." Here, the 33-year-old 523 LMP2 driver who is now dropping down the leaderboards. Either some major damage to that car or just completely overcooking the tires. And "I'm trying, mama" might be the best response to have right now going through there in that 40 Thieves Racing team, West Coast Thieves Racing team, because that, I tell you what, we'll see how Aqua Minerale treats them, but for Woodmansee, that was terrifying. Let's see as they go along, and coming out of Aqua Minerale slower than, a GT3 car, which is always scary to see as an LMP2. Behind, though, look at that, Dayton McGuire, Daniel Pinero going side by side, and that was the battle for GT3 AM lead, and I'll tell you right now, Dayton McGuire is taking it over. Daniel Pinero is not done, though. This battle is well and truly alive. The car behind is Mark Merkfa in P15, and GT3 Pro is not a factor for this battle. This is the battle for GT3M. Merkfa, stay out of it. Let them battle. Let them battle. This is the overall lead. Oh, and running wide, use Dayton McGuire, and that's going to be Julius Machewski going extremely slow there. You have to carve around it. That's Panero and McGuire. I believe they both made their way through as the cameras cut. They did, but now it's carnage going into turn one as Panero is now ahead of McGuire again, coming through, and again, Merkva, stay out of it.
I think Merkva wants to be in this battle. He's going to go in and try to slot himself right in here, because it will get overall position here, because this is a three-way battle for P23 overall, despite the fact that this is a GT3 AM battle that Martin Merkva is just kind of splitting right down the middle. The blacked out Aston Martin now trying to put pressure onto Daniel Panero, and oh, look how close Dave McGuire gets. He gets really close. He is trying to make work on the Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin is not giving him any quarter. No room whatsoever. I mean, it's already a narrow track, but when you're fighting like this, the track just feels even more narrow as time goes on. But now we're going to see Martin Merkva can get past Daniel Panero. But that BMW is pretty quick around here, and it is holding pace pretty nicely. But now we have a move just out of Aqua Minerale, as now it is going to be Martin Merkva in a bit of a drag race. But it is a drag race that he is going to lose going into the turn 14 to 15 chicane. And now look at this. Dana McGuire is going to have a go at it around the outside as they run down to Ravazza. And the driver's got a really good look at everything is Julius Majeski here. And oh, that's a dive in it. Ooh. That was close there from the number 12 McLaren.
You know it's bad when the commentators just make oohs and ahs and lean back from the mic. You know it is a good battle when that is happening. And again, ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, this is P1 and P2 in AM and P14, 15 in Pro. The Pros want to get ahead of the AMs. They want them out of their way so they can continue to move forward for position. And the AMs want to keep the Pros between because it gives them a cushion. It gives them a car between. It's multi-class racing at its finest in the same class of car. This is exactly what you want to see in racing as we go through. Further ahead of them, Eric Mack is under pressure here from William Westbrook just behind, and then behind that is the Mustang of Brian Medderly, who is just trying to carve through right now. That number 46 Mustang is trying to find its Ford performance, built Ford tough, trying to find something here as he goes along.
I know that car is built Ford tough considering all of the contacts that survived in the opening stages and those opening incidents, but now making his way through the chicane now, making his run down to Ravazza now. He's going to go to try to put pressure onto William Westbrook, who in turn is trying to put pressure onto Eric Mack. There is the LMP2 of Bob Carey trying to go ahead and make his way through. We'll see. Bob Carey does get past the Mustang, but now it's got two McLarens that he needs to contend with. Can the 280 just go ahead and just fly on through? That looks like that is going to be the case going down into turn one. But now the battle's still going on here. It is a Mustang v Ferrari, actually. So Ford versus Ferrari back 70 odd years later with an Alpine livery. That will never not throw me off, although that is probably the best era of Alpine liveries, I will say.
Amen.
Before they went to the pinkish color. But oh, look at this, a bit wide there for the Mustang of Tyler Stenick, going a bit wide. And now here we go, more battling going on here. And I mean, there's battles everywhere you look here around this circuit.
Literally, this is getting a little ridiculous here. Eric Mack coming through now, trying to hold off William Westbrook still as they have the LMP2 trying to work its way through. That is the 523 of Maxwell Woodman COC. Can you see? By the LMP as it tries to work its way through Aqua Minerale. I did not plan on that rhyming as well as it did, but I'm pretty happy about it as we continue through and the battles continue along behind Medderly now trying to put pressure on William Westbrook. Gonna send it around here down into the final chicane we go. Where is the pass? Well, it's not there, I can tell you that much. Going through Variante Alta, heading down towards Ravazza now. Turn 16, 17, 18 as it is known as we head down and around. Nobody looking for anything yet. Up front, Dylan Ackley, Cody Perodato separated by half a second as it stands with 15 minutes left to go. Half a second for the overall lead when at one point Dylan Ackley had, I'm pretty sure, a 9-second lead over Emily Milky at one point. I know it was 8, it might have been 9, but watch this. Dylan Ackley, Cody Perodato, 0.8 of a second. That is the GT3 AM battle that we were watching earlier between McGuire and Pinero that is split through them.
Ooh.
So all of your GT3 AM battle and your overall race lead is on screen right now. This is getting ridiculous, and I don't know what to watch. I'm stressing. Let's see how this one works. Dylan Ackley, Cody Perodato heading down the front stretch here, going towards Tamburello for the first run. 15 minutes left to go, and we don't have an answer on who's winning any of these classes.
It is battles up, down, left, right, all throughout the track. As Cody Perodato once again back to doing Perodato things and trying to go and close in the gap. There's a good amount of, it looks like there's a good amount of gravel actually on the circuit, so that could play a bit of a factor here potentially, but he needs to get past Martin Merkva here for Cody Perodato to once again put the charge back onto Dylan Ackley. Now here's the thing too, is we actually saw this last race where Perodato was just not getting lucky with the traffic placement, and it allowed JD Daniel to really continue on and put in a good work until he eventually got that race win last week. But now here it looks like Cody Perodato has managed to traffic a bit better, as once again we are back to this battle, the Mustang versus the McLaren here. It is Brian Medley and Eric Mack giving it another go. This boxing match between these two cars still going at it. He's going to go ahead and try to send it around the outside, trying to use that speed of the Mustang to get the pass done. They're going to get close, but Brian Medley is going to go ahead and make the magnificent pass onto Eric Mack, and he is up at a P9 in class.
Even more black flags coming out. Otavia Cunha and Hugo Ortiz now the next victims of the Black Flag Brigade, as I am going to call it here. I do want to touch on something that we haven't talked about here, and it is the amount of drivers that we have lost in this race. 13 minutes, 30 seconds left to go, and here are the victims of an Imola curse, is what I'm going to call it. Ethan Murphy, Kyle Rodriguez, Matthew Santos-Sierra, Colin Bourdon, Nathan Hemperly, Seth Vosselman, Zachary Nerney, Morgan Smith, Matthew Markley, Matt Toppin, Kylan Bruce, JD Daniel, Philip Keyser. We are down to 42 runners, and we started with 55 on track, down to 42. This track has been brutal for everyone as it stood, and everyone still has 13 minutes to try to survive the attack of the Kerbs multi-class hour here at Imola. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Brad, and I'm joined here by Patrick Coleman, who is always with me week to week, helping me bring the wonderful, wonderful fun here of Elbows Out Racing League, the multi-class hour here from Autodromo Internacional Enzo Idino Ferrari. The attack of the sausage Kerbs has been massive today. Again, when you've lost 12 cars, make it 13 cars now, I believe, as I believe Philip Keyser has now dropped out. If I didn't say his name before, I said it again. So when you're at that point, this is where things get crazy, and we're 12 minutes to go, and the lead separated by 1.8 seconds up front. Dylan Ackley, Cody Perodato.
Indeed, and here's the crazy thing too, right? Is we go from this chaotic circuit here in Italy, right? We go from this track, and then we go to a rain race that is guaranteed to have rain in Portugal when we head to Algarve International Circuit, aka Portimao, next week. So that is going to be a chaotic race because there will be rain there, so it's going to bring a different breed of chaos here. But overall, this race has just been chaotic, but also just so much fun to watch. I mean, we have an amazing driver, or actually amazing drivers like Perodato just sawing his way through this field, trying to catch up to Dylan Ackley, trying to get another win on the season. But this traffic is going to make things a bit tricky for him, as now there's lapped LP2 traffic that Dylan Ackley's got to get past. And also, a massive thank you to this week's sponsor of Joshua Bibb. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's race and coming up with probably the best name of the season, a title that changes hands pretty much every single race that we've done here so far. But Attack of the Sausage Kerbs is probably my favorite name that we've had so far here. And once again, a massive shout out to Joshua Bibb for sponsoring today's race.
So, here is the question I have at this point. We've got 10 minutes to go, and the question for me becomes, who still has something left in the tank? We know Cody Peredato is closing the gap a little bit here. Paul Nye right now is half a second off of Jean McLuhan trying to close things up as we go. And the battle for GT3 AM is a 1 second battle here, but Date McGuire is really driving more in the rear mirror, trying to keep that number 45 behind of Patrick Rich, more so than really driving in the front mirror, going after Daniel Pinheiro here. Let's see as we go. Now, Patrick Rich is a lap down compared to these two as they go. So let's see what Dayton McGuire has to give Daniel Pinheiro as they continue along. This is where I wonder who still has something left in the tank to get to the end and who is really just sort of running on fumes. And I don't mean fuel, I mean physical endurance. This is a physical race. This has been kind of a marathon even for me and you up here in the booth, I'd say. But this is a physical race for these drivers because you don't get a moment of breathing room. And that is something that I think we've kind of neglected to talk about. Really, once you got... Actually, I won't even say once you got past the first lap, because lap one itself was absolute chaos. Once you got past the first green flag and you hit turn one, it was game over and you didn't get to breathe otherwise. There was never a moment of peace to be found, and you are just all hands on deck. You're worried about LMP2s behind. You're trying to get past lap traffic ahead. You're trying to let LMP2s through while you're fighting for position, while you're trying to get through lap traffic, while you're in mixed class racing. I don't know how these guys do it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Imola, it is such a technical track. Like you said, you really get no kind of breathing room. Even when you're doing time trials and you're just trying to consistently lap the track, trying to get better at it, and then you throw 50 plus cars on this track in 3 different categories, and I mean, you got fights pretty much all over the track, especially if you're these hypercars trying to or these LMP2s trying to get around these GT3s. I mean, it's a physical track, even if it was only LMP2s. But then you throw the GT3s in the mix and it just becomes a genuine workout. I know I say it every single week, but I have so much respect for how quick, how talented, and how professional these drivers are.
Well, I will tell you, usually post-race, I will hang around and talk to some of the drivers, talk to, different people, kind of just get a feel of how some of the drivers feel about the race, about certain incidents, this and that. And some of these guys, you can physically hear the exhaustion. I mean, force feedback wheels, you've got the pedals that can have feedback on them or just have enhancements to them so you can feel it a bit better. Some of these guys genuinely, when they are done with the race, it is a workout. I mean, who needs to do CrossFit when you can do this? The 092, Austin Dilt's working his way through here past Medley and Burns as they go 7 minutes, 15 seconds left to go. Continuing along here in towards the end of the Attack of the Kerbs as we go through, and I absolutely cannot believe that this is the space that we're at here. Gap right now in each class respectively, 1.8 seconds between Ackley and Peredato. For LMP2, Javicki to Tobin, 4.6 seconds, and Daniel Pinheiro to McGuire in AM, 1.5 seconds separate them. On your screen right now is Paul Nye Sr., Jean McLuhan. This is 0.2 of a second separating them through Aqua Minerale, as still Paul Nye Sr. trying to find a top 5 finish here.
He's definitely giving it the old college try. And if you are someone who thinks that sim racing is nothing more than just playing video games, then have them take a lap around this track. And they will probably tell you that it was tough. Now, tell them to go 60 minutes straight around this track. That's probably more exercise than I get in a month just going through an hour of this track on a sim. It is a tough track, and I mean, consider that we have drivers in their 50s and 60s putting in these levels of performance. I mean, once again, it just shows you how fantastic the racing is here at Elbows Out Racing. Now, here's the curious thing, is we have some drivers in the pits with about 6 minutes to go. So that's an interesting one. I think some of these drivers were just trying to wait it out for that full course caution that just never came out.
Paul Nye's is track limits, I can tell you that much. Paul Nye here has picked up a track limits penalty right at the end. We knew track limits could be an issue, but I didn't expect that to happen, and that has compromised any sort of a top 5 finish. Paul Nye now falling down the order here and is likely going to be one of the last running GT3 pros on track. Also, more victims of the track here. Tyler Stenick, Julius Machewski, now victims of the track, and Sebastian Callis is now a victim of this track and has dropped out. We're down to 40 runners on this track when it's all said and done. Started with 55, down to 40. That might be the most DNFs of the season as we go through. Under 5 minutes to go. And again, just a reminder, this is not over till it's over. Don't give up yet. There is still plenty of time to be found.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, a driver who really needs to kind of follow that is current championship leader and race runner-up of Cody Perodato, and also the guy he's chasing down is Dylan Ackley, because I mean, Dylan Ackley, he's got the time somewhere on the screen. He's got the time ticker saying he's got about 4.5 minutes left to go, which is probably roughly about, just taking a look at the lap times here, that's probably about 2.5 to 3 laps left to go this race. So these drivers are going to be fighting tooth and nail, trying to get these positions and trying to get everything just squared away here. But I mean, like you said, it's not over until the checker flag is waving, so anything can happen. All it takes is for one rogue GT3 or one tire touching a little bit too much grass, and your lead can just fall to shambles.
That it can. One GT3 coming through, a little bit of grass, anything can do it here as we watch here from the speed cams, the static in-track cameras around this track here, around this virtual Imola circuit. Heading through Aqua Minerale now, you can see the GT3 traffic there ahead of Cody Perodato as we follow through. Dylan Ackley going through. Cody Perodato trying to swerve around this traffic, saying, hey, get out of my way, I've got 3 minutes to try to get this win going through, and Perodato might be figuring out how P2 feels when it's all said and done as we continue along here. More cars working their way through. Dylan Ackley just trying to run here. 3 minutes to go. It's all still to play for as we continue along here and keep the fight alive. That is Emily Milky there just ahead. That is P7, and that is the next car to go 1 lap down to this car, the 145 Dylan Ackley. Gap 2.5 seconds back there. Check it back in on GT3 Pros. Javicki currently holds a 7.5 second lead over Callan Tobin. Big lead through, and then back in the back, and Ams Pinero, well, it was separated 4 cars by less than half a second. Now, Dake McGuire, in the midst of a battle with mixed class racing here, is now sitting in 4.5 seconds back from Daniel Pinero. We're going through 2 minutes left to go at the moment, and really at this point, I don't know if Perodato can catch, but Perodato, gap now 2 seconds, 2 minutes to go. It's not out of the realm of possibilities here if Perodato has anything left in those tires, anything in the tank, and anything physically in the endurance of the human body left to give here.
You know, I think I pulled a Brad and forgot to unmute my mic there for a moment. But yeah, Cody Perodato, he needs to tap into the alien technology that he supposedly has access to, and just fire up those hyperdrive boosters and just try to catch up to to Dylan. But we know Dylan is quick. Dylan has held off Cody Perodato before. We just have to look at the season finale from last season. But also this happened to him last week as well, where he would climb through the field, get up to second, but the car in the lead was just a bridge slightly too far to cross. It happened last week with JD Daniels, and this week it is happening again with Dylan Ackley, but the gap is down to about 1.5 seconds here. A minute left to go on the clock. The white flag should be coming out here relatively soon if it hasn't flown already. But this is going to be a close battle between these two. They are going to give no quarter to each other. And I think this battle is going to go all the way down to the checkered flag.
There we go. Now I forgot to mute. We're even. All right, gap now 1 second coming through here. Cody Peredato 1 second off of Dylan Ackley. Traffic mixing things up. You can see the flashes coming through to Christopher Ondera saying, hey, get out of my way now. Is going to go around through down into Aqua Minerale. Or no, sorry, this is going to be, where are we at on track? No, there's Aqua Minerale. There we go. Okay, I know where we're at on track. Gap 1.2. Gap 1.1. Is this the final lap is my question here as Dylan Ackley is coming up and around. I believe we might be seeing 5 seconds on the clock. Final lap is here. There is no more after this. Coming through time just about perfectly. 1 second the gap for Cody Peredato. Is there enough left in this final corners of Ravazza to try to find something through? It's a hard-fought battle. Cody Peredato, the 7-time champion, trying to go for number 8, but right now Dylan Ackley gonna bring a name to the table here and maybe make a household name here in Elbows Out. Let's see what happens here as Dylan Ackley is gonna come forward to the line. Lights are flashing, Peredato flashing in respect there, and it is gonna be at the line. The win is gonna go to Dylan Ackley here, who is gonna win the attack of the Kerbs. He's attacked them beautifully and wins here in Elbows Out. Now in GT3 Pro, it is going to be John Javicki who will be bringing things around. The final couple of corners has done great to hold on here, and we'll be looking to cross this line soon with a win in GT3 AM. Now coming through Aqua Minerale, it is Daniel Pinero. He might go get some Panera mac and cheese tonight. 1, I'll be jealous of him, but 2, it's a great run for him as he's went through. John Javicki completing an extra lap on the field. He'll be one of the last cars to cross the line, actually. The GT3 AM of Panero will bring it through here, Patrick. He's had a great run in that BMW, holding off Dayton McGuire in that 007 Porsche, and it paid off. 7 seconds, 8 seconds, and counting to the good.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting considering that Dane McGuire did have a pretty commanding lead for a good chunk of this race in GT3 AM, but Daniel Panera played his cards right. He attacked the sausage Kerbs perfectly, and he's going to come across the line now to take a victory here into GT3 AM class. Here at Imola, he'll see Barney first in class, and then now just making his way down to Ravazza. It is the Mustang of John Javicki. He's had a fantastic race here today. I mean, this is another driver that had a very commanding lead throughout the race here today. He's making his way through the last couple of corners, coming down onto the home stretch and bringing the Mustang home on a track that the Mustang really isn't a fan of. John Javicki will take P1 into GT3 Pro class, and that is going to wrap up the race here in Imola. And also, it has appeared that Brad is 2-1 for getting.
Okay, anyways, so I said a whole thing about how great this race was and how I'm sweaty and I'm tired, just like I know the drivers are. We're just going to jump right into the race results as it goes here. Let's start out with LMP2. Yeah, Patrick, you can go through the LMP2 results.
All right, so our LMP2 results are as follows. Dylan Ackley taking a pole to checkered flag victory here, followed by a hard-charging Cody Peredato, and then it is Austin Diltz rounding out the podium, followed by Aiden Garcia, Luke Patrick, Fozzie Fazilla, Emily Milkey, Maxwell Woodmansey, Bob Carey, and Dwight Hibbs rounding out a top 10 in the LMP2 category, and then the other drivers are JD Daniel and Morgan Smith, who are multiple laps down. They did not finish the race here. And now we're going to jump straight into our GT3 Pro category. John Javicki putting a lap on everybody in the field, followed by Calvin Tobin and Sean McCollin going ahead and rounding out our top 3 in the GT3 Pros. And then it is Peter Nodwell, Brian Medley, Eric Mack, William Westbrook, Brendan Burns, Joel Bandera, Travis Bell rounding out the top 10. And then we have Martin Merkford, Tyler Cook, Sebastian Calles, Mike Sermon, Hugo Ortiz, Paul Nye Sr., Julius Majeski, Tyler Stanek, Matt Toppin, Kylan Bruce, rounding out the next 10. And then our final 3, Zachary Nurley, Collie Bordon, and Ethan Murphy, rounding out our GT3 Pro standings here tonight. And now heading to the GT3 AMs, last but most certainly not least, it is Daniel Pinero, Aaron Clayball, and Dayton McGuire rounding out our top 3. And then a lap down from them, it is Christopher Rondero, Kylo Grady, Andrew Wedderburn, Craig Yor, Otavo Kuna, and then we have Holland Greer, Derek Rice rounding out our top 10. And then the next batch of cars, it is Benjamin Bechtel, Patrick Rich, Matthew Marin, Doug Greer, Philip Keyser, Matthew Markley, Seth Vosserman, Nathan Hemperly, Matthew Santosiero, and Kyle Rodriguez rounding out the next 10 here. And I believe that actually might be the rest of our GT3 results.
That was the full field. It cycled back to the top 10 there when I clicked the button. So that was our full field of 55 cars who entered. What a wild race. That's all I can say. I will say John Javicki did not actually put a lap on the pros. It's when the timer ended compared to where Javicki was compared to Tobin. They were split up enough that the checkered flag came out after Javicki crossed the line before Tobin crossed the line. So that is why he has scored a lap up on the field. It's a weird glitch with where the timing landed. He just had a good gap there. So let's go ahead and start out into the post-race interviews here. Let's see who we've got available and where we want to start. And I will tell you right now exactly where I would like to start. I want to start out with this overall race leader of Dylan Ackley, who I want to hear how he felt about Cody Perodato here having a great time. So Dylan Ackley, sir, good evening. Congratulations on the win. How does it feel to win here in Elbows Out at a track that is as chaotic and scary as Imola?
Wait, hello. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it feels really good. I've had a bit of a rough start to the season, so it feels good to finally piece things together and get a good win. Cody had me very paranoid the last 10 laps or so, but it was a great race.
Yeah, it looked like he was really catching up on you there. He was given a great run going through, and I have to ask, are you aware of what happened turn 1, lap 1 behind you? Or were you just head down going?
I didn't see exactly what happened, but I came out of the first chicane, and I noticed that there's a big gap between me and the people behind, so I figured something had happened. I haven't been able to look at it yet, though.
I think you're gonna appreciate it when you can go check it out. It was
Okay.
It was an interesting moment. I'll leave it at that. But Dylan, next week we go from Imola to a similar style track, Portugal, where, from my understanding, from what Patrick said earlier, we're expecting a bit of weather to come in here in Algarve. So I gotta ask, are you excited for a rain race next week? And do you think Good Luck Rain Dance is going to get you another win?
We'll see. I mean, I really enjoy Portugal. It's a really great track, honestly. But I'm not super experienced in the rain in this game, if I'm being honest. So it'll be an interesting one for me for sure.
I think it'll be exciting to watch and see how it goes. You got a week to get ready, but
yeah, for sure. Exactly.
Dylan, anyone you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Nope. Thank you guys. Thank the organizers of the event. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dylan. Take it easy, man, and we'll catch up with you later.
Yep.
All right. And next, I see his hand up here. Patrick, Daniel Pinero has caught up with you, sir, to speak regarding his win here in GT3AM.
All right, so Daniel Pinero, welcome back to the winner's circle. For a good chunk of that race, it did look like Dane McGuire was fully in control, but once you got into that lead in the GT3 AM class, you really just didn't look back.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough race. I kind of planned most of my strategy around the expectation there would be a safety car, adding some extra fuel. So it definitely looked like my net position was a lot worse. Dayton got really close to me. He was under a second for a long time, and I had to kind of throw myself between some of the pros to make some space, but worked out in the end.
Overall, how chaotic was this track? And did you manage to catch the turn one, lap one incident that pretty much wiped out a good chunk of the field?
I didn't see most of what happened. I definitely saw some of the aftermath. I made the, I think, smart decision to take a 1x and go off the track and avoid most of it. Put me down a few places off where I was before that, but in the end, I think staying safe and taking the 1x is definitely the right decision.
Indeed, sometimes the best way to kind of go through things is just to take a bit of a rally line. Speaking on to next week, it is heading to Portimao with rain expected. So, how confident are you feeling around a wet track for the first time this season?
I mean, with rain, really anything can happen. I want to say I'm feeling pretty confident. The few rain races we've had so far, I feel like I've definitely had a bit of a leg up. I think similar to taking a 1x and being a little safe. Rain is all about taking your time and working your way through the field, and that's what I did today. So I want to just keep doing it.
All right, last question before we let you go here. Is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out after tonight's race?
I want to shout out Christopher Ondera. He's not my teammate, but this season me and him have been going back and forth a lot, and he's been a good comparison for me. So thanks for being on Discord and talking to me.
We love to see those friendly rivalries kind of brewing here at Elbows Out Racing. Well, Mr. Panero, congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next week in Portimao.
Thank you guys. Thanks for the great broadcast also.
You're welcome.
All right. And next we are going to pick up with one Mr. Where's he at? Where's Sean Javicki?
He's not here, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we're going to take a chance then and speak to our race sponsor. One Mr. Joshua Bibb, and he didn't race today, but he's going to take some time and speak to us here post race. So, Mr. Bibb, first off, you sponsored the race, but you didn't race. What gives?
I had limited availability this week to prep for this one, and so I opted to instead prep for the Porsche Cup Series, which is also at Imola. But believe it or not, the Cup car doesn't drive as similarly to the 992 GT3 as you'd think. So had I just kind of hopped into that without any practice, I probably would have just been bringing up the rear of the GT3 AM field.
So basically what you're saying is you didn't want to be the cause of the turn one lap one incident.
I don't think there's any danger that I would have been the cause of the incident, because that seemed to have started further up the field than where I usually find myself. So I may have been collected in the turn one incident.
All right. Well, I was trying to give you something there. Anyways, so I have to ask the big question. What made you decide that you wanted to sponsor a race? And when you got to pick, what made you pick Imola?
Yeah, so I've been in the Elbows Out League here for probably like half a year at this point. I don't remember exactly when I joined, but I've really been enjoying my time here. And so when the call went out to ask for folks who wanted to sponsor races for this season, that was kind of an automatic yes for me. I'm fortunately in the situation where I'm able to do that. Imola has a special place in my sim racing heart. It's kind of it was the first, oh, it was part of the first moment in my sim racing career where I realized that the skill ceiling for sim racing is super, super high. And I'm the kind of person who will like sit in a time trial mode of a video game or whatever and just grind it for hours on end trying to perfect a lap. Um, and so in Assetto Corsa, that was like the first serious sim that I played. And there's an achievement specifically for navigating like a BMW GT2 car, I think it was, around Imola under a certain time. And I think that time correlates with like a time that the Stig had done on an old episode of Top Gear or whatever, which I was also really into at the time. And I just spent like weeks on end trying to beat that. So Imola's sort of burnt into my memory. Um, and so because of that, that's kind of where the name for the race this week was derived from as well, because the sausage curbs around Imola they can make or break your lap, as I think we saw a number of times in the race today.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that here as we have the lap one incident here on the screen going through. I gotta ask, man, thinking about the league as a whole, what has been your favorite moment in your time here with Elbows Out?
Man, that's a tough one. It's just to kind of poke fun at myself a little bit. There was a moment in the Sebring race at the very beginning of this MCS season where I was trying to stretch tires a little farther than they wanted to be stretched, and I ended up being sideways at the entrance to the main straight, just coming out of the sunset corner there. And a lot of people turned that into a meme later in the Discord chat, and I got a good kick out of a lot of those. So it was one of those things where like real time I felt really bad because it was just an awkward situation, but then I kind of got a good laugh out of it. And I think that really captures the spirit of the league as a whole. Like everyone's very patient with each other, I think, and there's a lot of good camaraderie and kind of ability to race hard, but then also recognize that, at the end of the day, like we're all just guys hanging out in a Discord server driving sim race cars together. And I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. And Josh, before we let you go, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, I am going to give the floor to you as the sponsor of today's race.
Well, he just left, but man, like the way Dylan Ackley handled the last 15 laps or so of that race were really impressive to me. Like having Peridotto in your rear view with a 1.5 second gap to the checkered flag is terrifying, and he really handled that well with a lot of composure. So shout out to him, shout out to all the rest of the winners, shout out to all the admins of the league. I know all you guys doing race reviews, that's a lot of tough work, especially as we've transferred through a couple different systems this year in the MCS. Shout out to you guys for running the broadcasts. Like these are always a good time. If I don't catch them live, I always try to watch them the next day at work. Like you guys do a great job. So basically, to answer your question, everybody, you're all doing great.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you stepping up and sponsoring a race here this season. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow because I'll be around to watch the Porsche Cup race. So I'm excited to see what happens, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks. See you, Josh. All right. And one Mr. Patrick, any final thoughts before we send this one off into the sunset with what's been an absolute wild race, I have to say?
I just want to say, first and foremost, a massive thank you to Joshua Bibb for sponsoring the race. And a massive thank you to everybody who's watching us here in the YouTube chat. You guys were fantastic as always. Congratulations to our winners, Daniel Panero, John Javicki, and Dylan Ackley. You three all did fantastic. And once again, thanks to everybody for watching the Attack of the Sausage Curve multi-class out here with Elbows Out Racing, brought to you by PTR TV.
Well, we mama'd the Mia like we said we would. It's been a great race, and I tell you what, on behalf of Patrick, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Join us for the next one where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Maybe not as chaotic, but we'll do it again at least and have some fun. Actually, no, it's Portugal in the rain next week. We know this is going to be wild. Join us next week where it's going to come through. Good night.